Hello, welcome to Talking Europe, although this time we have slightly stretched the definition of Europe. We've brought you to Georgia, a small country sandwiched between the giants of Russia and Turkey, with increasingly close links to Europe, but a very strong history, culture and identity all of its own. This Caucasus nation's population of around 4 million people write and speak a language that's completely unique. They have a winemaking tradition that goes back 8,000 years. Even the statues are drinking it, and it's got special UNESCO status. In this programme, we're going to be looking at what makes the Georgia of today, 100 years on from its founding as an independent nation. We're also going to be looking into how Europe plays into its present and its future. First, a little recent history. When the Soviet Union collapsed, Georgia regained its independence. Since then, however, two regions have broken away and declared autonomy with Russia's recognition: Abkhazia and South Ossetia, where full-blown military hostilities broke out in 2008. In 2014, Georgia made a new turn towards Europe, signing an association agreement that has since made the EU Georgia's biggest trading partner. The European Union now provides more than 100 million euros of funding each year to Georgia for reforms in public administration, justice and, the focus of this programme, agriculture. We met our first guest at renowned wine producer Chateau Mukrani. Salome Zurabishvili is an independent MP who's also served as Georgian Foreign Minister. She took time out from preparing a presidential run to tell us what she thinks the association agreement brings to Georgia. This country very much at a geographical crossroads. How would you characterise Georgia?
As an old country with an old culture and civilization, a Christian country that has been its defining character for centuries. And I would say Christianity and wine maybe are the two things that really shape Georgia.
Well, what about Europe then? Where does Europe fit into all this?
All the things that in fact have been denied to Georgia during the Soviet times. Freedom of movement to Europe, which was the dream of every Georgian. Legal system, which of course there was no legal system and there was no justice. Education, free education, real education, as well as the association in terms of agriculture, because here there was no private property. So Georgians who were very old farmers. We mentioned wine, which was a very old tradition. In fact, Georgia is known as the cradle of wine, had been pushed aside, and really Russians tried, the Soviet regime more than Russians, tried to kill in Georgian what was the real basis for Georgian economy, which was the private property, private farmer, small farmer, family farming. All of what was for centuries what really created the wealth of Georgia and its stability.
Is there a sense that Europe is trying to impose something external on Georgia?
Well, like everywhere else, there is always this fear. And in the global world, this fear has been, of course, intensified. In Georgia, a small country as everywhere else, that maybe this big partner could be imposing other interests than its own. But I think that the real progress that we've seen, and in that sense visa liberalization that makes Europe more closer and more easy to understand for the normal citizen, has helped to dissipate some of these fears.
All right, well, thank you so much for introducing us to Georgia, Salome Zurabishvili.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, over the last 4 years, the EU has invested more than 70 million euros in rural communities here in Georgia. From winemaking to honey, our reporter Luke Brown has been to meet some of the people involved in EU-supported projects.
Mikhail Chankotadze is an unlikely figure of change in Georgian farming. Trained as an historian, he returned to his family farm and planted over 3,000 walnut trees. The state helped pay for the seeds and a new irrigation system.
This is the drip irrigation system. Water is delivered directly to the plant, so there's less wastage of the water resource.
Michael honed his knowledge at a European Union-funded training centre. Now his farm is used as a model for other locals hoping to get a start in farming.
They're interested in what we're doing, on how we're spending our money, how we work, how we use our energy. We've had a lot of people come who are interested. They want to do the same as us, follow our example.
The EU has funded 59 training centres around Georgia, reaching over 250,000 locals. Agriculture in Georgia employs over half of the workforce. Accessing European expertise is vital to improving productivity.
Our best farmers are sent to Europe, and they learn about new techniques there. Then they help us incorporate what they learned in our region and the government programs.
From 2013 to 2022, the EU is investing 180 million euros in Georgian agriculture and rural development, providing know-how as well as improved equipment. Gogita Makaridze runs a wine cooperative that has received 38,000 euros. This Terjola co-op now mixes traditional Georgian techniques with modern European-funded machinery.
We used to crush the grapes with our weight, but as you can see, I don't have much of that. So we got this machine which helps us make white wine using European techniques.
Winemaking has been in the Makaridze family for generations. In all, over 280 Georgian cooperatives like this have received direct EU funding. Here they only produce 5,000 litres a year, typical of Georgia's fragmented farming sector. Cultivating these small plots of land is not easy. European financial aid is vital.
The EU programs are good for small farmers who are handicapped by not having the right equipment. We've received EU aid since 2014, and we can see the results from that. The government here has also seen what we've achieved thanks to the aid, that we've become bigger and more productive.
Europe is both a source of funding and an appetizing market. The Tapli-Sascino Honey Cooperative has received 90,000 euros for machinery. That's helped them improve the quality of the honey and quadruple production to 20 tonnes a year.
If you don't have the know-how, the resources, equipment, you'll never be more than a small farmer and you'll struggle to create wealth. We've managed this thanks to the EU support, as well as our hard work and determination.
The cooperative is looking beyond the local market. They hope to export their honey, and meeting European standards is the key next stage.
Thanks to the EU aid, we feel that we will in future be a member of the big EU family. We see the development in the EU, and that makes us more determined to achieve the same here.
Most Georgian honey doesn't yet reach European standards. With that in mind, the co-op is aiming its sights, for now, on the Asian market.
We're now about an hour outside of Tbilisi in, as you can see, a very rural area. Now, around 40% of Georgians actually live in rural communities. This is an area where the European Union is particularly interested in investing. There's a 10-year project currently underway with a 180 million euro budget. This is a small plantation growing herbs for herbal teas. It's had some European support. We're going to go and meet the lady who makes those teas. And here is Natalia Pats-Khaladze of Kona Tea. Hi, Natalia.
Hi, Catherine.
I can see you're drying herbs. Which ones today?
The pomegranate flower comes from the neighboring village. This is calendula from our garden, cornflower, melissa.
And I know you had European support. What kind of help?
My budget was 7,000 euros, and this was enough to make work centers enterprise and a drip irrigation system out there in the garden.
There's a new European free trade agreement with Georgia as well. Has that benefited you?
Oh yes, definitely. Within 5 years, I hope to be in France, in Germany, in Europe, on the European market.
Okay, maybe we'll go and taste some of your tea.
Yes, of course. I'm gonna do for you the love tea.
Oh, thank you.
Which is a mix of black tea, rose petals, rhododendron flower, which is the endemic flower of the Greater Caucasus, a bit of peppers, and cocoa nibs. And it's gonna make the gourmet mix. And then goes to this muslin cotton bag with this rose instead of the tag.
Oh, that's very beautiful. Thank you very much. Well, we're going to taste the tea and find out more about the wider project supporting agriculture in Georgia. I'm in very good company with Christina Kazela from the delegation of the European Union to Georgia. Hello, thanks for being with us.
Hello.
First question, why should it be the European Union that gives money to Georgian farmers rather than perhaps a bank loan?
Well, that's a really good question because we have to say, first of all, that the Georgian farmers are usually very small farmers. They don't have that much access to resources and they have a very, very hard time trying to access a loan from the bank. The banks are very reluctant to give out these bank loans. So it is true that they often turn themselves either to programs from the government or to outside assistance. And for us, the development of agriculture is seen as really a priority in Georgia because it is one of the key drivers of economic development in the country and also can very much contribute to the diminishing of the poverty in the country.
And it's not just about money, is it?
No, not at all. Through these information and consultation services, I think that we have touched about 250,000 people.
Now, it is a lot of money that the European Union's putting in over 10 years. Are there concerns about where the money's going? There are known issues with corruption in Georgia.
Well, you know, European projects are very much monitored very closely. And for example, for this component that we were talking about with the cooperatives, we rely on some very trusted NGOs to implement these on the ground. And then these NGOs report back to us and they have to report back on every cent that was spent. So we are not too worried about that with regards to these projects.
Talking about cooperatives, that's a concept that has some difficult connotations in Georgia, I understand.
Indeed, yes. During Soviet times, there was forced collective farming, which of course left a lot of negative memories in the minds of people. It was not at all what a modern and free cooperative should be. But unfortunately, the idea of working with others and cooperatively was really seen negatively. And when we came in with the idea of a modern cooperative and a European-style cooperative, we had a lot of work to do to try and break this prejudice and to try and get people to see that this is really not the same type of cooperative and that through cooperation there are very tangible benefits for the farmers, first of all in terms of their access to markets and to raising their incomes.
The programme you work for, it's got a duration of 10 years. That finishes in 2022. What are you hoping for the future?
First and foremost, I think I would be very happy to see a decrease in the rural poverty. I would like to see more revitalized rural areas where the standards of living are higher and where people are able to make a living through agriculture or other means.
Well, thank you very much, Christina. Let's perhaps taste our tea. I think it's ready now. And while we drink our tea, you can watch this report from Morocco, another one of the European Union's neighbourhood countries, also benefiting from help with its agricultural development. This report from Jean-Marie Lemaire.
South of the Atlas Mountains, at the gateway to the desert, olives, dates and almonds are growing in the Skoura palm grove. In 2012, European funding was granted to acquire a new crushing machine at this olive oil producing cooperative. The facility has allowed them to triple their production capacity.
Even the packaging is thanks to the project. We've improved the quality. Before, we just had these containers. We sold them in these. And as you can see, here in this area, we have stainless steel tanks, which helps to guarantee the quality of the oil.
The polluting waste of the old machine has given way to clean, marketable byproduct.
It doesn't create pollution. It's environmentally friendly. It's used as a fertilizer by the farms, and it can also be used as a fuel.
Streamlining the farmers' resources is one of the main aims of the European support. In the oasis, the modernization of traditional irrigation canals has optimized the distribution of water, which is vital to inhabitants.
Renovating the pipes, especially with concrete, it allows us to greatly reduce the amount of water that used to be lost because of leaks, so the farmers can irrigate a greater area of farmland.
With 30% more water flow, Mustafa has been able to diversify his crops.
Thanks to this project, we can grow figs, grapes, corn. The situation has improved.
Since 2010, the European Union has been providing 130 million euros of financial support to the Green Morocco Plan, a government agricultural program.
We don't pay the aid directly to the Moroccan farmers. What we do is support Moroccan policies that we think can help to develop small farmers in the country. The principal objective is to boost the country's prosperity, because a prosperous country is a better neighbour for the European Union.
Improving the living conditions of small farmers could also be a way to curb shrinking rural populations and high emigration.
From the Kartli region with its fields and mountains, we're going to head back to Tbilisi now. That's where we'll meet you in part 2 of our programme in a couple of minutes' time.